Cheers.
I did that backwards, so I didn't even take another sip. Guys, welcome back to episode 10 of the StrongAF Club podcast.
That's crazy.
Holy moly. As always, I'm your co-host, Nate Craig, joined by...
Asim Fayez.
The one and only. And guys, today we've been approached a couple of times the past week about booze, burnout, and building better habits. You know, in summertime, people like to get those drinks in them, but how do you kind of balance that with fitness and whatnot? So, let's jump straight into the questions. The first one being, can you drink and still build muscle or lose fat, or does alcohol totally ruin your progress?
So I think my response might be a little controversial.
Uh-oh.
I think consistency and balance is the most important thing. And I think saying, for most people, telling them not to drink is probably not going to be realistic. If you drink on the weekend here and there, and that's the reason you're not building muscle, I think you had other problems going on. Is it detrimental? For sure. It's going to hinder the next day's workout or the next 2 days worth of workouts. It can mess with your recovery. It'll mess with your sleep. So I think from a recovery standpoint, it'll hold you back, but not a whole week. It won't set you back a week. But if you're drinking on a regular basis, yeah, I think you're kind of screwing yourself. You're leaving gains on the table. But I think people make it the boogeyman in the closet when it really is not that big of a deal, in a sense of like just casually drinking. Now, if it's a habit,
Yeah.
that's a different conversation.
Yeah,
that's for another day.
It's all about moderation,
Yes.
pretty much. And we've talked about it. Actually, I've noticed that even if I only have a couple drinks or something like that, like on the weekend, I'll check my body battery on my Garmin. Sponsor us, Garmin. And I've noticed, like, I never get as good to sleep, even if I have a little bit, which is interesting. And to truly get those gains, you need the rest, you need the diet, you need the exercise.
100%. But also keep in mind, like, if your rest day is Sundays and your last workout was Saturday morning and you go get like a light workout in and then you go drink a little bit with the boys or whatever Saturday night and you're resting all day Sunday, I think you're fine.
Yeah.
Just don't make it a daily occurrence.
Right. Makes sense. Cool. All right, the next one is, what is the difference between pushing hard and doing too much?
That's a good one. Pushing hard. So I'd say if we had to put it like on a scale, 10 being like the most you could ever do and 1 being what we're doing right now, we're just sitting.
Yeah.
I'd say pushing hard would be like an 8, 9 out of 10. Like you probably had a little bit left in the tank. You left a little bit in there for tomorrow. That's good. Like you want to stimulate enough but not annihilate. Another one was what? Go too hard?
Yeah, versus, going too hard.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
if you have like every now and then you're PRing, you're going for a max out, you have a competition, that fatigue your crew is gonna be pretty detrimental. But like if that's once a quarter, once every 6-8 weeks, you're fine. The issue is when you do that every session. So if every workout, every training session on the mat, in the weight room, whatever it is on the track, is full tilt, balls to the wall, you're just trying to go all the way and trying to be a gym hero, I think you're going to really put yourself in a position where you can't recover from it. At the end of the day, you can only train as hard as you can recover. So push training hard, it depends on the individual. What I can recover from is different from the next guy or girl. And it comes down to your fitness, how long you've been training, and what is it that you're doing.
Gotcha.
So.
That makes sense. But yeah, again, if you're going in every single time and maxing out and stuff like that, that's just...
Yeah, you're digging a ditch you eventually won't be able to climb out of.
Yeah, and I think that's been a common motif throughout the podcast that we've done. Yeah, don't do that, guys.
Yeah, especially around this time of year, you'll see more of that.
Yeah, and actually speaking of that, I'm going to skip the question I was going to ask and ask this one. Do you think people overdo workouts in summer to kind to overcompensate for the rest of the year?
Yes, 100%. I think as soon as it starts getting warm out, the pressure's on to start revealing more of your physique that you developed or didn't develop in the winter. Yeah, right. I think that's where the pressure gets on, because summer bodies are built in the winter. So I think when people don't think of it that way, they spend springtime trying to build a summertime body. They're trying to make up for lost ground, so they're doing a lot more than they should be, working out way harder than they can normally recover from, eating way less than they should to help them recover. They just go too far in both extremes, where the workouts are too high, the nutrition is way too low, and they start digging these ditches where their motivation is shot, they crash and burn, they get injured, or they actually hurt their physiques more than they help it.
Yeah, I think even myself has been guilty of that, pushing a little bit too hard in summer to get ready for that beach trip and whatnot. But I like what you just said. summer body's built in the winter.
Yeah, it's a slow drip, and you got to build it up over time. If you stay in shape, you don't have to get in shape. But for those who are trying to get in shape, give yourself grace, give yourself some time, give yourself a long landing strip to obtain that result. Because if you wait till springtime after the new year to start your cut, then you're not going to look the way you want to look by the end of the year. The way we usually, Layla and I, when we plan out my physique for whatever we're trying to do, or hers, we plan it a year, 2 years out, 3 years out sometimes. So it's like,
Really?
okay, this is what the goal is at this point, okay? Because, you got to think about it. It doesn't take that long to get that lean, but it takes a really long time to build muscle. And if you're going to keep cutting, you're just going to keep going back to where you looked. So you got to spend a good amount of time actually building muscle, especially the more conditioned you get into lifting, because your body just becomes resistant. You need to spend a long time bulking just to make any notable visual difference. Because after a cut, you're probably only 5-10 pounds heavier than the last cut at the end of it, because you're not putting on as much muscle as people think.
True.
So I would say plan it out, like, okay, by like a wedding or whatever it is, this event next year, I want to look good by this point. Plan it out. Okay, I got 12 months to look really good. Maybe the first 8 are spent trying to build the general shape that I want. So put the clay on the spots where we want to put the clay, and then we'd come in with the scraper and really start chiseling it out to create the visual you want for those last 4 to get you lean.
Gotcha. And actually, this wasn't a written question, but I'm just thinking out loud here. So you said summer bods are built in the winter typically. Obviously, you can expedite the process depending on how hard you're training and whatnot. But like if you're trying to look good for the beginning of summer, do you suggest kind of starting the cut in winter? Or
Yes. I'll use myself as an example. I started my bulk probably at the beginning of 2024. Ended at the end of December, beginning of January. We did the whole vacation month. And then when I got back, let my body kind of readjust to the dieting, and then we start cutting. And now I'm cutting until probably the end of summer, like July, August time, to get lean enough. And I'm going to be flatter, and I got to get over the psychological hump there. I'll be flatter and leaner than I want to be. But then I'm going to bulk back up to fill out that muscle now. So that way I hit my target date, which is December, January, which is when I'm trying to go to Dubai. And that's my goal. But that was my goal like a year and a half ago. So in my mind, I spent a year bulking up, got up to 208, and then I started cutting down, 189, 191 right now. 191 with a hoodie on, so probably really 189. And then I'm going to just be patient and slow cut all the way down to the end of the summer, and then slow bulk back up so I'm more filled out, so then the physique looks more polished and complete by December.
Very good. Look out, Dubai. Alrighty. Next one. How do you plan? So we were talking about drinking. Let's say you're somebody that likes to have a couple drinks on the weekend and whatnot. How do you plan your workouts in like kind of throughout the week to plan for that? Would you want to, if you're drinking on Friday or something like that, would you really want to kill it on Saturday or kind of spread the workouts out?
I don't really adjust the workouts. I wouldn't say necessarily adjust your workouts. I definitely wouldn't try to do a hard workout or a PR workout the day after, for sure. Because your nervous system, everything's going to be kind of shot because your recovery was terrible that night before.
Right.
Your body battery, Garmin sponsor us,
Yep.
Will be low. So I would say maybe if your workouts are Monday through Friday or Sunday through Thursday, Sunday through Friday, you're fine. If you're going to go out like Friday night. Just make sure when you drink the next day, you're not lifting hard. If you're going to lift and go get a pump, you're fine. But I wouldn't adjust the training. I would adjust the nutrition, actually. So when I plan the drink, like this Saturday, we have an event here at the facility, our 1-year anniversary.
Yep.
And then after that, we have multiple different fight competitions happening in the same night. So it's going to be a long day of events, and I suspect I'm going to drink. So with that being said, I would adjust my carb intake the day before, the day of, and then I count for the day after. For example, if I know I'm going to drink Saturday night, I'll probably go a little bit lighter on the carbs Friday. Definitely go lighter on the carbs Saturday because I'm going to drink my carbs and I eat it. Make sure my protein is still hit so I don't get
You're not losing.
Exactly. So not only am I hitting my gains, I'm also not getting through half a drink and I'm already twisted up. But then I account for the net difference on Sunday. So if I did drink, then Sunday goes back to normal because I accounted for it Saturday and Friday. If I didn't drink and I decided not to do it for whatever reason, then Sunday I would make up for the lost carbs from the last 2 days. So Sunday would actually be a refeed day.
Gotcha.
Okay. So think of it, the easiest way to think about it, and I'm going to refer back to this over and over again in every podcast, is think of it like a bank account. If I'm planning to spend a lot of money because we're going to go to whatever, and splurge on Saturday, I'm probably going to tighten up my budget a couple days leading up to it. But if I ended up not buying anything, then I have a little bit more money in the bank account that I can spend the next day. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So all you're doing is adjusting your budget. But I would adjust your diet, not your lifting. The only thing I would say with the lifting is just don't make sure you're not going for like a higher intensity workout the next day.
Okay, that makes total sense. And by the way, guys, it's not like we condone drinking here. The reason we wanted to touch on this topic is because we know people do. And, you know, people are people. They're going to do what they want. And the whole point of this podcast is to help you guys out and figure out how you can find that balance within your life.
100%. And that's the thing is like, I mean, you and I have had so many talks about this over the last year, which is like, there's what's optimal and then there's what's actually going to happen. And what we're trying to promote and push is a realistic approach, a human approach to the general goals that everyone's trying to achieve and reach for. There's all this stuff online about the perfect diet, the perfect hydration number, the perfect reps and sets per week, all this stuff. But then there's what's actually going to happen to like a normal American's schedule and day and life. And if you don't future-proof yourself by giving yourself a system that works with reality, and you only live out of a piece of plastic container with the perfect measured out workout every single day, I mean, your shelf life is very short.
100% agreed. And if you're doing those kind of programs that are that intense and whatnot, and it's not kind of catered to real life, people tend to fall off more and then get discouraged. Like, oh man, you know, I stopped. If you build kind of a program with your diet, with your sleep, with your exercise, based around your actual lifestyle and slowly fine tune it and stuff, I feel like, far more likely to remain consistent.
Absolutely. Those who climb hard fall hard. So if you try to diet super hard and try to work out super hard out of nowhere, like the New Year's resolution rush we usually see, the main reason most people fail that is because they try to attack all the aspects of fitness. They try to change their lifestyle, their sleep habits, their nutrition, their training, everything all in one go. They don't give themselves a chance to get just one W under their belt. They try to collect all of them at once. And I mean, like a Pokeball, right? Like you catch one Pokemon at a time. You don't catch them all at once. But you gotta build it up over time. And I think that's where people fail. And that's something that I've seen you actually over the last year really master, because I've seen you in all shapes and sizes, going down from your cut to your bulk, back to your cut again, from doing a powerlifting meet to then focusing on physiques. The thing that I like how you approach things is you had a very balanced, like you still lived. We still went out on the weekends. We still enjoyed. You didn't have to sacrifice your time at home and things like that. It didn't look like you compromised to get to your goals. I don't know if you want to speak to that at all, but it looked like you were just living, yet still seeing your results because you found a way to have like a realistic balance approach.
Yeah, I mean, I like to have a couple drinks. I like macaroni and cheese. I like a bunch of stuff that's not great, but I found a way to fine tune it. I love mac and cheese, but I found this stuff called Goodles that's sold at the store, and it's way healthier, ton of protein and stuff like that. So instead of having normal mac and cheese, switch that out. I like to have a couple drinks on the weekend, so I switched to like Tito's and like Diet Sprite or something like that, as opposed to Kraken and Dr. Pepper, which usually works. But yeah, it's all about kind of finding that I know my personality and kind of how to fine tune it, and it's gonna take some time, but yeah, it's just a learning process.
100%. Yeah, I think just having low friction adjustments is what's going to lead to those long-term results. So if you're someone who drinks on the weekends, I'm not saying don't do it. We're not condoning it, like you said.
Right.
But maybe switch that out for like a vodka soda or something different, you know?
Right. All right. Well, I think we talked about that one enough, and I have another one for you. So, overtraining versus overreaching.
Freaking love this one.
What are the difference between those two and kind of symptoms of each?
So, at the surface level, the symptoms are kind of similar. You're fatigued. You have a decrease in performance out of nowhere. Your sleep is getting affected, etc. So you're showing signs of what most people would call overtraining. The majority of the people I've ever interacted with have not overtrained. I don't think most people are capable. Not saying that you can't.
Well, because
everyone
job
can. I think psychologically you'll quit before you get to that point. I also don't think most people's schedules, unless they're full-time athletes, have the capability to train that hard and undereat that much for that long to truly overtrain.
Right.
What I mean by that is, an easy way to test this out, if you feel like you're overtraining, is take a couple days off from training. Take a day, 2, maybe even a week. If you took up to a week off and you came back and you felt really good, really strong, and recovered, you overreached. You did not overtrain. Overtrain is a much deeper symptomatic effect that your body experiences, where it not only physically affects you, physiologically, psychologically affects you. You're irritable, your mood's shot, hormones might be shot, your sleep is completely shot, your performance is decreasing. It is something that will take weeks, if not months, to recover from and to come back to. So true overtraining is a much deeper problem, and it takes a long time to dig that deep of a trench. It's like the Mariana Trenches of fatigue. Whereas overreaching is what most people do, and it's what we force into our lifters forcibly in their training. This is what we call the valley of despair here, is when someone's accrued enough of volume where they just feel like they're just dragging through life. And it's about a 2 to 3 week period, for some people 4. And then we taper into a competition or into a max out, into a test day. And the taper is anywhere between 7 to 14 days, depending on the size, strength, and sport of the lifter or the athlete. And by the time the end of that, they have an increased performance, increased strength, better cardio. Everything is just better by the end of that. If that is something you can continually do, you're not overtraining, you're overreaching. And overreaching is something you can strategically leverage to elicit peaks of performance throughout the year. Overtraining is something you want to avoid at all costs, because I'll take away half your year.
So overreaching so I understand the overtraining part, but like the overreaching, for example, like I wanted to bench 350 by the end of this year. That I'm assuming is overreaching.
No, that overreaching wouldn't be the goal. Overreaching would be what happens through the training. So like say your goal is to hit 350 and it's in 16 weeks, and right now you're at 330 or 320 or whatever. You train, you're doing a lot of volume, you're building up volume. You start off the training cycle, you're fresh, you're excited, you're hungry, you're eager. You know this is the start of a long journey, and at the end, 350 is waiting for you, if you make it through. Sweet. You start training. As the training goes on, you start accruing fatigue. Maybe a little ding here, a ding there, some small pulls. You psychologically start getting weighing on you, because you have to get hyped up to start lifting that much weight every session. Then as you build up fatigue, aka volume, which you have to, and you start digging that trench and pulling that bow back further and further and further, you start getting into overreaching kind of symptoms. Now, as soon as we get to a point where we're about like 2 weeks out from that lift, for someone that strong, I would say about 10 to 14 days out, we then start tapering back the volume heavily. Now, the technical term, I hate it because it sounds dumb, is super compensation, where over a 10 to 12, sometimes 14-day period, your body will slingshot past its baseline for a moment in time to be at its peak performance. So you dig that trench, aka pull the bow back, and then when you hit the top of the taper, you let go, and that bow, as it comes forward and gets closer to its baseline, you're going to feel more and more recovered, more and more fresh, more and more dialed. As soon as it passes that baseline, you're now hitting your peak, which should be only a couple days out. And then the day of is where you should be at the top of that peak if you timed it right. Peaking is truly a crapshoot. It is really, it's a science, but it's not exact. Meaning you're trying to line up many moons, but there's so many more factors that come into it outside of just nutrition and training. There's psychological fatigue that comes from life, family stress, your sleep. There's a whole lot of outside factors we can't control for. So we're really just trying to get you in a position where you can be the most peaked you can possibly be currently. So that would be, if you're able to take that taper and come out with a peak and hit some PRs, you made it through overreaching, hit super compensation, peaked, and then you'll level out at a new baseline.
So it actually sounds like maybe if you have a coach or the correct direction or something like that, overreaching can actually have very positive effects, while overtraining, not so much.
Overreaching is something you want. For like example, we have there's a fight to win that's happening this weekend, and we have a lot of grapplers that are competing in it. We have another Muay Thai fight that's happening this weekend. There's another Jiu-Jitsu competition that's happening this weekend as well. I think it's like 3 or 4 organizations going on. And a lot of the athletes are reporting at the beginning of the week and towards the middle of last week that they're fatigued, they're tired, they're a little sore, blah, blah, blah. Good. But now is the time where they need to be taking their recovery seriously. Training volume got pulled out. A lot of people, their last lift was Monday, who are competing this weekend. And then it's just been rest, recovery, mobility, light cardio to keep the blood flow going. And by the end of the week, by the time they step on the platform on Saturday, they should have super compensated, and now they feel peaked ready and strong, energetic, good cardio, etc.
Is that super composition phase also referred to as deloading?
It happens because of deloading. Overreaching happens, and then once you hit your overreaching phase, you deload to then induce supercompensation. Supercompensation is a light switch. Light switch down means overreaching. Turn the light switch up, the act of turning it up, is the deload, and then when the lights go on, supercompensation. You've peaked.
Very cool. Well, guys, it looks like that's about all the time we have for you today. Thanks again so much for tuning in, and we want to keep hearing your questions, so remember to comment down below. And as always, thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thank you.